A little bit more about your experience there. Like, how was the setup? How was the people that you had to interact with there?
You mean the second time around, or all in all,
Both
how the
times.
shelter,
Both times,
how
yeah.
both times? Uh, the people there are not happy people. They're very, they got a lot of anger, a lot of things that happened to them in their past that they're not happy with, whether or not they allowed it to happen or whether or not it was a family member or a friend. And they come in with a lot of anger and anger toward other people, anger toward the system, and they vented. They vented. If you get in their way and they got a problem at that time, they're gonna let it out on you. And a lot of times when we was in the shelter, they would, the reason why I didn't want my sons to go through it again, because they would set their frustrations out on my children and my boys. And, I wasn't having that. Those are my sons. And you're not going to, because you're having a problem at that particular time or because your life is going in a direction that you didn't want to go in, I'm not going to allow you to vent your frustration on my sons. So, they're very unhappy. They're not settled. And my first book, which is Sheltered Again, Sheltered, can I show?
Sheltered.
Can I show?
Yeah.
I can show my,
Sheltered,
I can
right?
show my first book. This is my
Sheltered.
first book, Sheltered. Okay, and a lot of times, a lot of women in there, they would set their sons or their children toward my kids to beat up my kids because whatever their problem was at that moment, or maybe they didn't like me, maybe they didn't like the way my kids were dressed. It's a lot of pettiness in there. So,
but not cut you off. But I noticed in the book, reading the book, the first one and the second one too, that some of this stuff you wrote also you had a part in some of the stuff that would be happening with the people that lived in there. So when we come back, I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
Okay. Joining
Sure.
us today is Mr. Parks. We're doing the book club, Sheltered Again, and we'll be right back.
It's Shannon.
And we're out.
You got plans?
You bet.
$50 million Americans struggle with hunger, but we can do something about it.
Excuse me.
What's going on?
Dinner.
Please join me in helping put food on their tables. Together, we can feed America.
You guys keep going. I'm gonna get the plate.
Wait.
Find your local food bank at feedingamerica.org/hunger.
It's Shannon.
Hi, we're back, and we're talking to Mr. Parks about his book, Sheltered Again. And before we went to break, Mr. Parks, I wanted to ask you, in the book, you was talking about the people attitudes and stuff in the shelter, but, I want to get down to, you put this in the book. So in the book, from what I'm reading, you also had a problem in it too with your attitude and sometimes anger, that you would be getting into it a lot with the people in the shelter as well.
right,
So that was causing some of your problem in there.
right.
Is that right?
That's
So tell us,
absolutely right. That's absolutely right. I'm not perfect. And I'm the first to always admit I'm not perfect. Yeah, I mean, when you get into the system, you get frustrated like everybody else, and are you talking about while I was in the system or while I was in path?
No, you was in the system, because your neighbors, down the hall or wherever you was at the time. Sometimes you would have a little confrontation with them, or
Right.
sometimes, you was getting into things with them. So I'm just saying, from what I'm reading, is that you also was causing trouble in the shelter as well.
And we're talking
as the
about
other
Sheltered
people.
Again, right? We're
Yes,
talking about Sheltered
yes,
Again, okay?
yes,
We're not talking about
yes.
Sheltered. You ladies,
Trying to pinpoint.
you ladies didn't read Sheltered, so my read Sheltered. My read Sheltered.
The same thing was in shelter.
That's
You was in
right.
confrontation with people in shelter.
It was
I read shelter.
Sheltered.
So it's in both books. Shelter had it too.
Is when you was in your apartment.
You
at
was
one
getting in
point,
arguments with
and
people.
You had that fight.
Yeah, you had
the
a
woman
fight
who was
with-
getting,
Exactly.
abused by her boyfriend.
Exactly.
Pick up the
Oh,
mess.
you don't remember?
Remember now.
Okay, but I wasn't in the shelter, ladies.
wasn't
I
in
was
the
at
shelter at
home.
that time.
I was at home.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, Ma?
Well, I don't know which incidents, but I know for a fact when you were in the shelter.
Okay, when I was in the shelter, well, you know, like I said, I have my frustrations and my angers as well, and you know, I had to release and all that stuff like that.
All right, we understand.
So, you know,
I just want you to have also take responsibility as well.
Oh no,
Okay.
no.
But let me ask you something.
Yes.
Yeah, but let me ask you something else seriously on the seriously side too. Do you? I noticed, you know, you had a lot of different relationships, you know, with women and stuff like that. Do you feel maybe like at some point that maybe you shouldn't just be in no relationship with anyone? You know, just concentrate on.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Just concentrate on you and your boys.
Absolutely,
and what needs to happen.
absolutely. That happened a little later on, but absolutely. After a while, I was like, you know, just let me, you know, do me and get my life together, and you know, because all the frustrations that I was going through with jumping in and out of relationships with women, and you know, not finding the woman that I wanted, and you know, women not dealing with at least one of my kids. You know, because you know, when you have multiple kids, there's always one child that they're not going to get along with.
Right.
So you know, after a while, absolutely, I decided to just buckle down and just start focusing on me and what direction I was going in on life, and that's right now what I do is I talk to teenagers and dads about taking care of their children and just focus more on that and trying to make a difference in the world and try to get more fathers to be responsible for being a part of their children's lives and just try to lead the ladies along.
Okay.
You know, I'd like to applaud you.
Yeah.
You did a good job with your 3 boys.
Thank you very much.
And it's difficult and it's tough to be in the shelter in New York City.
Right.
You know, with all the other kids, the drugs, the gangs, the violence, and for them to be somewhat focused and still have that guidance to continue on to college.
Right.
I do applaud you.
I appreciate it, and it's and like I try to often say to fathers, is you know, it's all about the children. You know what I mean? It's not about your wants and your needs and your desires and whatever's going on in your life at that time. It's all about the children. You know, if you may not get along with the mother at the particular time or whatever the situation is, but you know, it's our responsibility as a man to take care of your children. This is why our children are running amok in the streets right now. The fathers aren't doing their jobs.
We're out of time, but I want to say thank you for coming, you know, to talk about your book again and your experiences in this shelter. And just your experiences shows people that even though you're working, because Mr. Park, you work, because you work at the hospital.
Yes, I do.
That even though you may be working and have a job, that doesn't mean you can't end up becoming homeless.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So
absolutely.
you have to keep that in mind as well, that some things happen.
Absolutely.
But with determination, a lot of prayer, you can overcome it.
Absolutely.
You do what you have to do to get out, and you do what you have to do to make it.
Can I say one thing before? You know, like you said, you know, you could be homeless tomorrow because there's a lot of people who like to judge other people and try to bring them down because they feel like they have a job or whatever their situation is. But you know what? You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You can have your job.
People living paycheck to paycheck.
They're living paycheck to paycheck, and you could be there tomorrow.
We want to thank you for joining us today, and go out and get Mr. Parks' book called Sheltered Again, and read it. It's a good reader, so go out and get it. So we want to thank you for joining us on our book club today, and as always, we'll see you next time.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.
It's Shannon.